In this podcast, you're going to hear how Peter Hull has taken Fitstop from one physical location to 43 locations across Australia in the last few years, and how he's on track to take the brand to 10,000 locations in the next 5 years. This is a truly epic podcast, and I hope you get a lot out of it, especially about the franchising model and how that works. Enjoy.
And success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast. So this episode is going to be an absolute cracker, I have no doubt. This man has gone from owning one physical location gym to having one of the fastest growing fitness franchises in Australia called Fitstop. Pete Hull, welcome to the podcast.
Mate, thank you for having me, and it still gives me butterflies every time I hear that.
What the fact that you've gone from 1 to 43 locations?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, my hair gets greyer straight away as well. So.
Mate, at least you've got hair. Like, let's not even go down the hair thing. I think we started the other podcast previously with Sasha about he had a great hairline too, mate. It's savage for people like me. I'm in awe, mate. I'm in awe. But I think the best place for us to start with you is obviously, a lot of people won't know how you even got into the fitness industry. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from the back of the fact that obviously you were previously an athlete in motocross and obviously trying to get to the top pro level in that game. Can you give me a bit of an understanding of like how you first got into that and getting on with that?
Yeah, so I grew up racing motocross, I think from the age of 9 or so. My dad had a history with that as well. It was just something that I was kind of born into, I guess, and had the dream of becoming a professional athlete. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But fortunately, we're here today to talk about it. So, fell in love with motocross, tried to live the dream, training for it, traveling Australia. Had 2 knee reconstructions, so one at the age of, I think it was 19 or 20, and then the second one 9 months after I got back on the bike. So that was a big red flag for me and pushed me into the direction of falling in love with health and fitness.
So is that something that often happens in that game? You get blowout of your knee when you're going across all these high jumps and all this kind of stuff. Is that a common injury?
Yeah, I think, look, it is a pretty intense sport. You hit the ground pretty hard. It is really aggressive on your body. So, number of different injuries. I've broken my leg a couple of times before that, collarbone, head injuries. And it's just part and parcel. But I think it's every sport. Once you start getting to a certain level, it does become dangerous and these things happen.
Do you think, though, that it was kind of a pivotal point? Like what age was the pivotal point when you were like, okay, I can't make a living out of this, like the living that I actually want to make?
Yeah, look, I think that was probably never the dream, was to make the living. It was just to chase something. So the pivotal moment was second knee reconstruction, surgeon telling myself and my mum that probably should start to consider where I want to head in life. And it was probably at a good age where I could pivot quite easily and quite quickly. So didn't know what I was going to do. But I did understand that I wanted to be something within the sporting industry. So I went and studied Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, aligned with some amazing people. Obviously had to go then through 12 months of rehab on my knee after the second one. Learnt a lot. And then the big motivator for me was, I've learnt so much right now. How can I use this experience? How can I give this back to, firstly, the industry that I love? So training motocross riders, BMX riders, and kind of living the dream that way. And that's kind of how it kicked off. I guess I built my craft through those learning years of what does it take to produce an athlete, and how do I get results. And
you wanted to put that into other people within the sport that were chasing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, still loved it, still love it. Don't do it anymore, but wanted to really give back and I guess educate what I had learnt myself.
Did you ever, when you were going through this knee reconstruction phase and everything of your life, I know you've made it sound like it was a real positive experience for you, obviously coming off the back end, but I want people to understand that obviously there would have been a lot of mental trauma with that, because like an athlete coming back from an injury is a big thing. Yep. So can you give me a bit of an insight into obviously like your mindset then? Because obviously I know you've made it sound like, it's like I did this, but like I'm sure there's a little bit of juice in the journey through that, because that was a 12-month period that must have been quite hard.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I always go to being super optimistic. I'm a problem solver. What do we do next? How do I get through this? And I guess that's again why we're here today. But The 12 months was hard. The second one was harder. The first one was easier because created a plan, even though it probably wasn't the best plan, just followed that, got back on the bike and, kept chasing the dream. But the second one, when it was kind of like, what do I do next? And the second one's always worse to have surgery on. It was, I think I was laid up for 12 weeks, in a massive brace, not putting any weight on it. So, never been a big fan of PlayStation or anything like that, but discovered the love of Guitar Hero during those 12 weeks. And it was tough, man. You're sitting at home, not being able to go anywhere, not being able to move. Girlfriend, wife now, Beck, showering me, all those sort of fun things.
Yeah,
no one sees.
This is why I wanted you to say that story because this is what people don't see.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, he done 12 months of knee construction, it was sweet, and then he set up a business. It's like, no, that's not how it was. Yeah. That's not how it went.
I think it taught me a lot though. Like that's through that time, it actually made me slow down. And I've always been someone that runs at a really fast pace. So it made me slow down and think about, I guess where I did want to go, or at least what I wanted to feel. And it probably taught me that real determination or grit when you're overcoming adversity as well, which I hadn't really had before.
Do you think you in that time frame you put together like a bit of a plan of attack of where you kind of wanted to see your life going in that when it came out of the back of that? Or?
Absolutely not.
No,
not a chance.
No. So how did you go about obviously getting things together then? Obviously you said, okay, you obviously must have decided that you're doing your cert 3 or 4 then within that time frame. You've done your cert 3 or 4. You've obviously gone over there, you're now your PT and athletes and people like that. When did you think to yourself, okay, I don't want to keep swapping my time for money doing this. I've got to progress now. I've got to get on into something.
Well, you just said it. So I think I'm addicted to progression. For me, it's like, what's next? Who do I need to become next? Where are we heading? What are we doing? How do I make a bigger impact? And I guess from getting off the couch to going doing that cert 3 and 4, I did it in campus, so I wasn't at home anymore. I had purpose. I had a reason to get up every day and to learn, and I really wanted to learn. So, but that kind of addiction to progression was, started training athletes one-on-one, and because I could ride a bike, work on a bike, and train them kind of in a gym, work on their nutrition, I could be that kind of all things to those people that wanted it. So, a day for me naturally was get up, go to the gym, train people, go to the track, coach them, do lap times, help them with nutrition, go back home, had a workshop at my parents' house, work on their bike, go back to the gym, either run sessions or one-on-one stuff. So I just got super busy. And I get into the habit of doing all things so I understand it first before I even think about growing. Before I delegate, I need to know at least part of how I talk about this, to give value, to give direction, and then we can move forward. So look, one thing led to another. It was training people in a studio. It was then using a bigger space, so moving into more of a corporate gym, learning what I loved and what I didn't love about that world as well. And that's something that
So what were some of the things that you thought, okay, this is great, but I hate this? What were some of those things?
Look, I love the reason that people get into fitness. And this is more of a personal training point of view. But I don't love the process while you're in that. So it's exchanging time for money as a PT. You're paying a big box gym rent. You're expected to do all of these things. But is there that level of support back? It is transactional, but does it go both ways? I really question that. Yeah,
is the value for both parties in that transaction? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And then look. This is their model, but big box gyms, they generally build their business based off a couple of different revenue lines. And again, it works, but it's all about servicing members, so membership fees coming in, and then servicing PTs, fees coming in. Gives a great opportunity for startup business owners or PTs to enter into the market. And if you've got an amazing plan that goes along with that consumer base, that can work for you in a big box gym. It didn't work for me. I wanted to train in a group environment. I was attracting people to come into the gym I was using that weren't members of that gym. I had a different clientele base. So again, I think it works amazing and gives an opportunity for the right people, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah, it's all right paying $300 a week rent if you're taking clients from their facility, but if you're paying $300 and bringing them customers into their facility, it's kind of like they're kicking you on both sides of the fence with something like that.
For sure, yeah. And like I said, I think as a PT working in that network, great if you're going to leverage that database. Who can start a business and have a database at their hands? No one. So if that's done well, awesome. For me, I had a different niche, a bit of a different vision of what I wanted to create. So did that.
And you went straight group training. That's what you're saying. You went straight for the groups more so in that environment because you realised that you could leverage more time out of doing those things.
Yeah, for sure. I did some one-on-one stuff, but a lot of the things that I built out started to push more into group fitness. And that led us into leasing a very small industrial warehouse and kicking off our first group training studio. So
where was the first groups training studio that you created?
It was actually in Redland Bay, so it's a bayside suburb out in the Redlands.
Yep.
100 square meters. I think it was like 25 grand a year rent or something. We started with I think $20,000 capital. I imported all the equipment from China. We just kind of jumped in the deep end and had a crack. And again, big learning for me, and I've had some amazing support. And my wife had my back and kind of
she just backed you the whole way.
Supported it, encouraged it, and you need that as well because we can get into the habit of second guessing ourselves, but bounce the ideas off her and we kind of jumped in the deep end, leased a building, threw some equipment in, and got started.
How important has Beck been in your progression into getting everything that you've got today?
Oh, mate, massive. You need that kind of right hand person. She's not just a support person. I actually run by her, and I've learned this very quickly. She's very analytical. She's going to be able to pull an idea apart, whereas I go for that top end vision. This is what I can make happen. So, it's a true partnership where we get to run ideas by each other, bounce off those pros and cons and make a decision which is going to, I guess, be safe, but also propel us that next step forward. And she gets that. I definitely put her under a lot of stress and pressure over the last 11 years that we've been together, but secretly she enjoys it.
Are you one of these people like me that has 70 million ideas and you think they're all brilliant, and then you turn up and then Beck's like, well, look, if you do this, this, and this, that's not going to work. And then you sat there like, I know she's right.
I've done, like I said, I've been a PT group trainer, started a gym. I had a sports drink, so manufactured a sports drink in Malaysia, imported that, sold that into a number of different gyms, sold apparel. I've done a lot. And even though I have done all of that, it's been amazing to have a sounding board. And I guess the benefit there is Beck will never hold me back from a great idea. It's not kind of like, oh no, that's silly. It will be, hey, tell me more. And that's what's needed. There's, you'll have people in your life that will tell you that's silly, that's not going to work, that's been done, that's dumb.
But you're at least trying it. You're trying everything. You're tasting all these different things and seeing which works for you and obviously which you can grow.
Yeah, I tested that to market. And obviously we found something that really worked. And that was the core of, what Fitstop is and what Fitstop was then anyway, really is, that group training experience that does get results, that aims for progression for our members, our athletes, whoever's coming to us. So, the grounding core of the business hasn't changed, but I did go through that time of kind of experimenting and dabbling. We don't do that anymore. We stay really true to our vision. We've got the winning formula. It's about supercharging it, adding fuel to the fire, and going for it.
Just getting it out in as many places now as possible through the franchise model.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing I wanted to ask you was when you started this facility that was 100 square meters in Brisbane or Redlands, what was that originally called Fitstop as well?
So when I did all my personal training, it was called Power to Perform. My mum actually came up with this name, abbreviated to P2P. So I could give people the power to perform, which was pretty cool. So thanks, Mum, for that.
Yeah. Your mum's branded you up straight away.
She branded me very well, yes. When we started going to motocross tracks and taking physiotherapists and helping people stretch and warm up and all that sort of stuff, we leveraged a pit stop. So we called it P2P's Fitstop.
Right.
It had a stop sign in the brand. And then when we launched our first location in Redland Bay, it was called P2P Fitstop.
So what made you drop the P2P then?
Just branding. We kind of wanted to not forget, but move away from that direct athlete focus. We understood and realized that this training methodology and formula got a lot of people amazing results. So it was really kind of then testing the market, broadening our reach, and making sure people felt comfortable coming to us, because there's one thing to be able to support the people that are already with you in your circle. The other thing is really attracting that to a wider audience. So look, we tweaked the brand initially to Fitstop. That kind of got us to 2 locations, and it was only in the last 12 months we actually did a rebrand with complete color change. Still the same name, we're still Fitstop, but complete color change, brand messaging, because again, we really understand our consumer and where we want to be in the market right now.
Just bringing that back. So when you had your first location, you branded Fitstop.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you think to yourself, okay, this is something now that we've got our systems and processes in place. We've got a bit of a structure to what we're doing. When did you think, okay, I want to franchise this model? Is franchising something you always thought you could do from day one, or did you, or were you thinking about owning every physical location yourself, or what was the kind of the process that you went through to get into this franchising model?
Look, the probably the first step was testing to see if we could do it again. So we actually opened our second. So from Redland Bay, we outgrew that within 12 months. I started seeking external mentorship. So did a training program called the Entourage, Entrepreneurs Business Development.
With
Jack Delosa heads it up. Incredible program. Met a number of good mentors through that. They actually became business partners as well through the process. So had a great experience, learned how to systemize, learned how to sell, to market, and remembering that I was everything in this stage. So I'm writing meal plans, running sessions, running the business, thinking about the marketing, had external support on all of that, but kind of learnt the grounding roots of Fitstop. When we got to kind of what we thought at that stage was that peak capacity, had an amazing manager running it. Anthony, he actually owns Victoria Point now and still helps us out in head office. We got that formula right. There was a bit of magic there. We had hit 220 members, running amazing events, 6-week challenges. We had alliances with like Red Bull and Chobani and all this stuff that no one else had at our size. So, wanted to kind of, again, jump in the deep end, be addicted to progression and open our second. So same thing, went and leased a building, got a bunch of equipment. At that stage had no longer had the Chinese equipment, had a partnership with Alpha Fit, we were doing amazing fit outs.
They do amazing stuff.
Australia made and owned and just a quality product. Have an amazing relationship with Jamie. So basically, from I think 4 months into the business, we changed over to all their equipment because the stuff that I was getting was just falling apart. And then from then, they've looked after every single location. But it was I actually had a coffee with a mate of mine, Sam Carsons, and he had just opened his second Asai Brothers, and I asked him just the same question. How did you do it? And he looked at me and said, well, how'd you do the first one? I said, no, just signed a lease and fitted it out. And he said, do that for the second. And he said, if you think you've got something, if you've proven the model here, you've got amazing trainers. Yourself. Just jump in. And look, that's kind of how I've always run it anyway. So I think it was like 2 days later, I'd gone and signed a lease and, another fun story. We got married 4 weeks after we opened our second location. So again,
was that a good idea or a bad idea?
Oh, it keeps everything interesting. I will say something different to Beck will say. So, but she was helping us paint and off to dress fittings and all that sort of stuff. So again, it's all part of the journey. It's not easy. Absolutely. We had to risk it, putting our own money back into another business when we could have just played it safe. And, at that time she wasn't working in Fitstop. She's had an amazing career in recruitment. We had a bit of a safety net. We'd, just built a small house and life was kind of trending how life should. And I just kind of, shook it up. A buddy of mine says, just go and shake the trees. So we went and shook the trees. But
you were doing the standard thing that everyone does at that time. You bought the house, you done the marriage, you got a successful business, but you knew that there was more juice in it. So you just went, okay, cool, let's just rock and roll and go with it. And backing yourself like that is so important when the time is right, because so many businesses could scale and miss the boat, don't they? Because they just don't pull the pin.
Yeah, for sure. I think that common belief in like, well, what if it doesn't work? My mind always says, but what if it does? And again, it's always got to be a calculated risk. You've got to bounce it off people around you, but people that will be more analytical. I guess if you go to the right people, you have the right circle, they understand your passion, and you have a vision that's something bigger than yourself, you'll generally make it work. So, we'd already created one. Risk was minimal. Have a crack at it, and
you've got one at this point. You got one cash flowing, so I presume the cash flow from that was funding this second one, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and look, at the same time, again, let's talk about the glitz and glamour. I was still paying myself $500 a week. Did that for the first 3 years.
And that's what most people who look at business owners and kind of resent them a little bit because they think that they're all wealthy in that. Yeah. But there's a lot of people that are turning over millions of dollars that pay themselves $500 a week.
Absolutely.
In loads of businesses across Australia, UK, America, every day. Like people just properly overestimate how much people are pulling out of it.
Yep.
And for tax reasons, you don't want to pull loads of money out of it. You want to put that money back into your business and push it forward again.
For sure. Well, I think the biggest thing is, what are you willing to reinvest? I haven't owned a car for the last 4 years. Don't really need one. But again, it's like, what are you willing to reinvest into your business to get to that next level? For me, and use a Simon Sinek quote, it's an infinite game. I'm a Fitstopper for life. I have goals, ambitions, and a dream to make this a global company. So why would I focus on the now, and what could I do now over that real reward, which is in the future?
Pulling out a couple of million here or a couple of million there is nothing compared to having a brand that's worth billions of dollars and impacting now hundreds of thousands, millions of lives, rather than, because obviously you've got 10,000 members right now.
We do, yes. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a big milestone. 43 locations. So when obviously you've got that second one up and running, now that's cash flowing, you've proven the model. Was this the point when you went and got the funding round?
No, so it was actually a little bit, but just wanted to touch on something there. So remembering that I said we grew the first location to around that 200, 220 members.
Yeah.
We've now just hit 10,000 members over 43 locations. So the average member number, right now I'm going to use the average because that's what we should always be measured off, our average, sits at somewhere around 267 members.
Yeah.
When we started, it was a boutique business, and yes, it grew, but I think the system is so well proven now that our average 267 members
per location. And, average membership yield sits at about that $46 because we're at $49, take the fees, take the taxes. Yeah.
$47 times 267. As a now franchise business or a startup, you could essentially say, in each individual location.
Yeah.
Man, that makes me super happy. So get to impact a huge amount of lives, but it's amazing return on investment for our owners. So couldn't be proud. Yeah.
And just break down for me, you obviously had to go from that to obviously getting the funding to do it, to be able to put this in place, to give these opportunities to people.
Yeah.
Is getting funding for a brand new franchise opportunity, is that something that's fundamentally really hard?
Absolutely.
Because I imagine that would be a hell of a proving process, something that takes maybe 6 to 12 months to get approval on.
Yeah, well, look, I've had a board from day one when we set up the franchise entity, so have had support from a high level there to know when to pull the levers.
Yeah.
But I guess the biggest thing is that the first challenge is, as the founder and major shareholder, it's going, okay, do we bring more people in here? Do we bring outside money? Because up until we raised money last year, the year before now, it's 2021. We were already at something like 15 locations or 14 locations, purely organically funded, every cent back into the business.
Yeah.
That kind of, I think, slow. A lot of people still think it was quite fast, but that organic growth to go, okay, am I willing to, one, dilute my ownership? Because that's a big part of, and probably things that people don't speak about. Am I willing to bring more people in on this ride? And again, it has to be for the right reasons. You can't just bring people in to grab money.
And they have to have the right skill sets to go along with their equity stake as well.
Yeah, well,
that size of business, right?
Yeah, and look, there's a number of different ways that you can raise money. You'll raise money just for money. You'll raise money for money, and as well as a skill set. Through our first raise, it was all about just injecting cash into the business so that we could hire amazing resources, focus on our brand and our technology play. So, like I said, I think it was around 15 or so locations we had. We went to market, raised the money, ended up raising, I think it was $1.35 million. Injected that into the business, and then that kind of just started to really fuel our expansion. So, hiring of key staff, my COO, Alan Myers, an absolute weapon, been in the industry for 15 plus years, now sits right beside me in the business, operationally, runs the entire office, has that level of experience, which is incredible. So again, just another sounding board. That stuff's not possible if you don't, go and kind of, again, jump in the deep end, get out of your comfort zone a little bit and raise some money.
And by taking you out of the operations side of things, you free your mind up to think more big picture and how can I go and sign 50 franchises in the next 12 months rather than, doubling the size of the business straight away.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the biggest thing is I'm not amazing at having great attention to detail. I can think bigger picture. I can solve problems really quickly. I understand, obviously, the brand, the marketing, our positioning. But to have someone come in with that skill set and then go back to those brilliant basics, as he calls it, develop these skills and structure. That's why today we've got amazing systems. We can roll out 100 fit stops, just like that. We can our membership numbers constantly increasing. The franchise network is even more supported by less touch points, but better systems. All of that stuff has happened from bringing the right people in, which is incredible. And then I guess for me, it's not even about selling the next 50. Like I said, so Beck works in Fitstop now. She heads that department. She's amazing at vetting the right people. You've got to be protective of who we're bringing into the brand as well.
100%.
We don't just sell to just anyone. It's a quite a lengthy process actually, because again,
you have to know who you're bringing in is going to benefit your next locations as well, don't you?
Absolutely. It's a family for sure. So super important. But for me, my focus is always going to be number one, member experience. And then how are we enhancing that member experience? What technology are we doing to enhance our member experience? What data are we pulling to not only get our members better results, but our location owners better results?
Yep.
What's our message to market? What new campaigns could we bring in? And again, at a high level, and then go and talk to experts about how do we actualize this. So my role's gone from doing absolutely everything to becoming a little bit more, I'd say, enjoyable in a way that I've got room to breathe and really focus on what does our next 3, 5, and 10 years look like.
Yeah, and I watched, actually going on that point, one of your points there, and the way that you've approached that, I watched the video that you shared this morning on Instagram by Noel Mack.
Yeah, it's amazing, wasn't it?
Now, Noel Mack,
yep.
I've known of Noel's for years since he was a videographer. Now, obviously, what he's done at Gymshark and saying how you stay ahead of the curve is a similar principle to what I'm going to tag that video that you put on Instagram in the comments of this, because I think it really does go into more detail into what you've just said there of how you get attention on the brand and obviously how you think about things, and obviously how you go to market to make sure that you're doing all the right things by the customer, and how you stay front of face, but for the right reason.
Oh, absolutely. And look, COVID was a huge test. And I think, I can't remember the statement exactly, but you're going to tag it. And he said something like, during COVID, our statement was, during the times that were our toughest, we will be our best. Yeah.
It's a statement from, again, I can't remember the person, but it's a very famous, I tell you what it's from. It's from, I think it's from the Prime Minister of the UK. I don't know whether it was Winston Churchill or whether it was a current Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, but it was definitely a statement from the Prime Minister of the UK of whether it was in relation to COVID or the war. I can't remember, but there's a little bit of context around that. But everything that you've said in the short 2 minutes you spoke on, how you're passionately trying to create this brand so that it touches people here, but it also helps your franchisees and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Everything you said there was wrapped in that 18 minutes, but full expansion of what Gymshark's done. Because when he talks about their most popular piece of social media content, for argument's sake, it's like a screenshot of them turning their name from Gymshark into Homeshark. It's an amazing piece. I'll tag it in here. Because when you said it, I just resonated with it. I watched it this morning.
Oh, for sure. No, I did too. And look, we did something very similar, and obviously definitely just watched that video. But during COVID, we launched Fitstop at Home. So we had been developing our own technology for 18 months. It wasn't ready to go to market. COVID hit. We launched it to every location so that all of our members could re-sign up to our new Fitstop app. They would pay half the membership fee, but they would book in the exact same way that they would book in if they were going to their location. But
they could do it at home.
Do it at home. So they would book in for their 6 a.m. session. They would wake up. They would open the session. So instead of checking in at the gym, they'd actually press launch. It would open up video conferencing. They would see their trainer, all their mates, and they would train with them. So a big thing for us, we went to our network and said, guys, what do we want to be known for post-COVID experience? And for me, that was, we take care of our community.
Yeah.
We did everything. We made every single decision based off that statement. In the office, we wrote it up on the wall. We take care of our community. It wasn't financial decisions. It wasn't, how could we, maximize growth, any of that stuff. It was, we take care of our community. That was the filter for every decision made through COVID. And again, that was a pivotal time for us as a brand. During COVID, we launched our new technology. We rebranded for all of our new colors. We changed our message to market slightly. And we just boomed after COVID. So, again, that's us at a core of Fitstop. It is all about community. It's all about progression. Our community is our owners, our trainers, our managers. They're our Fitstoppers.
You've just said about refining your message. What was your previous message, and how did you go about refining it to get it even more into the target market?
Yeah, look, it's something that naturally has flowed over time. Like, remember, if we go back to Redland Bay, it was when I say message, it's how you're perceived in market as well.
Yep.
So our colours were very grungy. It was harsh, aggressive reds and blacks and a stop sign and, turf on the wall because I thought that was cool, and sled tracks and all this sort of stuff. And although we kept the same layout, we actually just transitioned a lot of our colorways. The idea behind everything that it always created, and even like the old colors, were I wanted the member to feel like we were taking the outside in, so they felt like the time that they were a part of that team sport, they felt connection, they felt progression, and they were in a safe place.
Yep.
The way we transitioned the brand was exactly that, but we weren't really saying that message to market before. So our transition was we changed our colorways to khaki, to a burnt orange, to a lot more whites, light and bright. So the second someone sees us on socials, we're more inviting, we're more attractive, we're more inclusive.
Yeah, rather than the red.
Rather than the performance. Yeah. We are that. You're going to guarantee you're going to get results if you come to Fitstop and you train for us for over 3 months. Do a 6-week challenge with us. You are absolutely going to feel amazing. That's what the programming's there for. But you just don't want to put people off when they see the initial thing, because obviously red is a stop. And we had a physical stop sign like in the brand, so it's like everything was aggressive. So it's more like we want to be inclusive. We want to create community. We want a feeling for everyone, and I guess that's what we've been able to achieve. So.
And where do you see it all kind of going in the next 12 months on from that? Like in terms of like are you now in the position where you're going to be opening like one franchise every 2 weeks, or one every 3 weeks, or one every week, or what does the growth look like for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so look, this year is pretty insane. Last year was supposed to be a big year for us. Obviously, COVID slowed it a little bit. So this year we've kind of got all of those to roll out. The first 6 months, I think we end up opening one a week, but the second 6 months of this year, it goes to 2 a week. For some of those months as well. So, look, at this stage, end of this financial year, which is obviously June, we'll be sitting around 55. By the end of the calendar year, the forecast sits at that high 80, early 90s. And
at what point do you go, okay, we're going international?
Look, it's already on the cards. Like I said, I'm working 3, 5, 10 years in front. So our technology is already in works for the next kind of 12 to 24 months.
Yep.
We're already in chats or in conversations, with obviously the likes of New Zealand. We're exploring, what our overall flow looks like for that international expansion. But it's absolutely on the cards. We'll be a global company in the next 3 years.
When you franchise into another country, do you have to get a partner within that country to obviously break into that market, or is it something you just go and set up an entity there and just start doing it? Or how do you take it from here into another physical country and open and expand at the rate you are here?
Yeah, look, it's not a one size fits all. So we've identified the countries that we want to own and look after, and to do that, it is obviously there's a lot involved in setting it up, but it's setting up new entities. It's it's moving kind of the IP over there, setting up your head company, and then rolling out that way. But you can also sell a master franchise. So there is countries that we've already flagged that we'll sell masters into. We'll look for great strategic partners who will buy that, and then they'll roll them out.
Yeah, so they'll roll them out and take a little bit of the upside from franchising across the brand.
Yeah, for sure.
And I presume you look for someone who's already taken a business, maybe another franchise, maybe an Anytime Fitness or something like that, and bought a master franchise or something like that, and roll them out with someone who knows the fitness industry, or would it be someone who just knows the franchising industry?
Look, it's a bit of both. And again, first and foremost, values have to align. The strategic plan needs to align. And we need to make decisions that are that long-term play. So we'll look at that, and then we kind of see what is their experience, what have they been known for, and how are they going to be able to support the growth. So absolutely need to have business experience in franchising, because franchising is a different beast to being company or corporately owned. So
100%.
There's a bunch of different categories we're working through at the moment.
So one of the questions I had that came through the Instagram DM was, I've got a listener that's got a business in the UK, wants to franchise it, and he wanted to know what the positives and negatives to franchising a business from one or two locations is. Can you give a bit of an insight into the pros and cons of that?
Look, I think the positives are, first one for me is you get to share the journey with a lot more people. And I wouldn't say there's negatives to that, but you need to be aware of that. It is sharing the journey with more people franchising, they are business owners. They are going to have an opinion, and franchising can develop a really bad name because of that rift between the franchisee and the franchisor. Right. So I think going into it, you really need to be open-minded to go, okay, well, I'm not going to be in an ivory tower, and this is how I view it, is we are going to grow together. We are in business together. We need to support each other so everyone wins. And I think that's where it can go wrong if you don't go into it for the right reasons. Obviously, franchising, you can expand that little bit faster because you're not funding every startup, every location yourself. Yeah. Again, that's why we're in business together. But I think the biggest thing is before you even decide that, is the model proven? Have you scaled it yourself? Yep. Have you put your money where your mouth is? And have you created 1, 2, or 3 other locations yourself and really proven that model? From there, and this is probably something, that at the early stages I didn't look into because, we weren't focused 110% on what revenue could this create. And if we have 100, what does it look like? It was more kind of how do we make a bigger impact? But do a financial model. Are you better off to own 5 if it's purely revenue based or profit based? You might be better off owning 5 of whatever it is they want to franchise over owning 50 or 100 if you're franchising it. So what are your motivators? Is it to make an impact, get a broader reach, share the journey, or make money? And if it's make money, then
you're probably better owning them.
Well, you need to just look into it again.
Yeah, I think breaking it down like you just suggested is kind of the way that you get a clear understanding of where you're trying to go to. You got to know that before you even start thinking about franchising. Because if you got one and you're thinking of franchising from one, you kind of could be going down the wrong path, as you say. Yeah. The one getting this funding, this 1.7 million that you got,
1.35,
right? 1.35 million. Mm-hmm. Is that something you get from one particular source, or is it something you seed fund from lots of different sources to get this into the business?
We did it from multiple, so smaller check size, 8 to 10 people. Believe in the vision, because again, you're selling on the dream, and obviously there's a forecast there. But at early stage of business, the investors really have to believe that this is going to go where you say it is. So you need the proven model, you need the forecast, you need the overarching 5-10 year plan, and they've got to believe in it. So the way we did it was, it was multiple different investors, smaller amounts, and really, again, wanted to be on the journey with us. They believed in it just as much as I did. So, definitely different ways you can do it, where it is, maybe someone comes in, or it is even bringing a business partner in that wants to help float some and take some equity. But again, you kind of got to assess that and have the right people to give you the advice on that as well.
On your 5 to 10 year plan that you have now, what kind of locations are you going to have after 5 or 10 years? How many are we talking here?
Look, we'll get up to that 10,000 mark.
10,000 locations?
Yeah. The plan, to be honest, isn't really just hinged around the locations. Obviously, we need that space. We want that touch point. It's all about our community. But my overarching North Star is, how do I create a fit stopper for life? So a fit stopper for life is someone that comes and trains in our locations, builds their network, builds the community, but also, through our technology platform, still goes and does their runs, every second day, or trains for their, trains for their marathon, orders their meals, monitors their sleep. How do we add value and weight to more people to create a sustainable lifestyle? So my North Star is, we will create a fit stopper for life. We will be able to have multiple touch points with our fit stoppers, and overall create healthier and happier humans.
And with all that being said, how many locations of those do you think is the market capped out in Australia? Is that like 150, 200, or how many can this market itself hold?
Well, look, I think you can just look at some numbers of the big box gyms. Anytime Fitness sits at around 450, or I think it's even 500. Yeah. They're a community that services between 1,200 and 3,000 people. We're localized community based, but at the same time, we make sure that our territories are really generous. We want to be able to make sure that our owners are really sustainable and really profitable. So at the moment, our numbers are looking more around that 300 mark. To service Australia, and then obviously look for that overseas expansion.
So if I said to you today, okay, Pete, I'm going to open a Fitstop franchise. I'm interested in starting a franchise with you.
Yep.
Give me a bit of a overview of the model and how it looks like for someone who's listening to this right now who thinks, you know what, I love what you guys are doing. I want to be on board.
Yep.
I want to get involved. Give me that overview of where we start and where we finish and what it looks like going forward.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. But I guess to start off with, you would be a perfect candidate to own a Fitstop. So for me, it's all about, are you passionate about fitness? You know, we've spoken about your boxing.
Yeah.
Are you passionate about business?
Yeah.
You obviously are that.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you wanting to share more experience with more people? You're that as well. So values have to align. There has to be a right reason. If you purely came to me and said, Pete, I've got a bunch of cash, want to be a passive investor, don't care about fitness, give me 10, we're going to be like, hey man, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah.
Again, we've got to protect our why. But our process is pretty simple, but at the same time, detailed once you get into it. So, jump on our website, throw your details in. That's going to go straight to our sales team. Beck's going to pick up a call with you, but you're also going to get sent out our franchise information pack. That's going to talk to you more about what our business model actually looks like, some of those high-level investment costs, some of those numbers around return on investment, things like that, just at a really high level.
Yeah.
But the major one is setting up that phone call to have with one of our team members, learn more about you, for you to ask more questions about the business, and make sure there's an alignment. From there, we go through an application process. So once we know there's an alignment, the next step, filling out the application form. And that's everything from, yes, your financials, because you do need money to open a Fitstop.
Yep.
We need to understand your experience, who's going to support you, and how you're going to align to a franchise model as well. Because, again, buying into a franchise group is a little different than starting your own business.
Because there's like ongoing franchise fees. There's a lot more. There's a lot of different overheads, but I presume you take some of the marketing burden off them for that and everything like that.
Yeah, well, like the best way to think of a franchise is you're buying into something that's already built. So you actually really want to respect the systems, the brand, the technology, everything that you're plugging into. So that takes away that stress and pressure. Like, we have a full bookkeeping service.
Yeah.
We do national brand awareness campaigns. Our localized area marketing is done from our locations.
Yep.
We have all of our systems with obviously sales, all the programming done, inductions for trainers. All of that is taken care of. Obviously your technology, all those huge investments.
So that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet from day one.
Absolutely, man. It's got to be consistent. That's what a franchise is all about. Look at McDonald's, best franchise model in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
Consistency is key. So that's a big thing that we talk about, and actually all of our location owners really respect and protect as well. So, if there is slight things happening within the network, maybe it's thrown off a little bit, we all have that conversation. Hey guys, power in numbers. We need to be doing this. And look, in fitness, slightly different to maybe a McDonald's, but if one of our locations does something slightly different, let's just even say the program says it's a bicep curl. We don't do that many bicep curls, and instead we do a tricep extension. That actually may not necessarily look like it affects the location that much. Maybe it was programmed better that way.
Yeah.
But what it actually affects is the member experience in that location, but also every other location around them, because all of a sudden we did something different. Myself as a member at a different location sees that and goes, oh, did I miss out on that? And then the member in that location goes, oh, I didn't get to do the curl. Did I miss out on that?
Yeah, and
so
it sounds so trivial when you put it like that, but it's like that's part of being in a franchise, isn't it? You have to go together. You can't just have these people that go online. Do you do like a psychoanalysis test on these people to kind of see if they're the type of person that aligns with teamwork or goes alone? Because like that would obviously highlight a lot of things for you.
Yeah, well, I guess getting back to the process, it's once we get that application and we understand that there is merit here in progressing it, it's that formal meeting. Most of the time that's done with Beck. She's going to go through full financials of the business, what it actually looks like line by line. We use, we got an amazing templated financial forecasting toolkit. You basically go and build your business, your Fitstop business out with her. And again, from that, we can get a deep understanding for, what is this business going to look like? How, are we going to protect the rules of the game within Fitstop? Are we buying into it for the right reasons? After that, it then goes through a number of different steps and processes until it gets to the very end, which is either a phone call with myself or Alan, our COO, to go through those finer details around what a franchise system looks like. And it's just to make sure that we're setting those expectations on both ends. We're both buying into it for the right reasons. Because disappointment only comes from a misalignment of expectations. So look, once we go through those processes and steps, then it's all guns blazing and we're ready to get you open.
Is it something though that comes as a standard price? It's like XYZ. The franchise is this much money, and then is it a case of Fitstop, i.e., you going and finding the location that it can be delivered in for that amount of money, or is it something that changes the price of the gym facility per location? Because obviously sometimes, you know, a rent in Victoria might be more than the rent in Queensland, for argument's sake.
Yep.
So how do you work that out?
Yeah, so look, we have parameters around everything. And obviously, again, we've got that business model that's built out that tells us that rent could be between this price and this price. This is our average rent across all our locations.
Yeah.
So again, you've got that information in front of you. But to answer your question, it is a different overall investment for every single location.
Yep.
So for us, it's an upfront franchise fee, which everyone pays to us.
Yep.
And then we've got our ongoing royalty fee, which is a percentage of our overall revenue. Outside of that, we then support through the lease process, the design process, the quoting process, and the build process.
Right.
We've got a number of different third-party vendors that look after all of that, which are our preferred vendors. So again, we have some control over those price points, obviously keeping people honest, and that accountability to get the best result possible. But the difference between rent, the difference between square meterage, the difference between the landlord work. So if you're entering into what we call a cold shell where it's just open ceilings, no amenities, no aircon, or maybe a warm shell where it's already got your bathrooms built out, nice lighting, aircon.
Yeah.
Like you're talking kind of $30,000 to $40,000 difference. So
Yep.
again, we make sure we're on the front foot with getting amazing deals. You know, obviously now as a national business, we've got a bit more leverage. You know,
in terms of negotiating the commercials.
Exactly. Yeah, we've got a sound business. We've got a proven model. You know, when you are a startup or a boutique, you're entering into somewhere, and the landlord's going to go, "Oh, you're a high risk. I'm not probably going to be willing to do too much with this deal." Whereas, you know, now when we go into that and you've got weight of a franchise group around you, you've got a bit more certainty. You can pull on those levers. Yeah. So, you know, you might pay a little bit more rent, but we're going to get an amazing fit out done for you. So then that is going to then affect your overall capital costs.
Offsets.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find the location first though, or do you just see where you might find these franchisees, and then when they put their hand up and if they meet the criteria, then you build a gym in their area, or is there specific locations that you sell off? Okay, we know from this is our demographic of people. These are that they get the right median income in this area. We've got the right amount of footfall. We've got the right amount of traffic going past this location. This is where we're putting one, and then sell it off to the network that way.
We do both.
Right. Okay.
We do both because the people come first all the time. So we're generating leads. You know, we'll get anywhere between 60 to 100 leads a month to buy a franchise.
Yeah.
Again, we take them on a process. It's a lengthy process. You know, again, Beck will make that process incredible. We get to the end of that. Then we look at, okay, well, where are they best suited? And we already have the entire of Australia mapped out with all of our key territories. We know the demographics, headcount, average income, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
We'll then plug those people into where is best going to suit them based off maybe where they live, where they want to move to, because you've got to build a lifestyle around this. You've got to be comfortable. There's no point you opening any business in an area you don't like, you don't want to go to, you don't want to build a community around. So that's kind of first and foremost. Then we go and hunt for the building. The other side to this is we're now again in a great position where we've got these big landlords coming to us with amazing deals. Yep. So we'll craft that deal out and we'll hold that deal until we have the right person. We do go to market on it to attract the right people. But again, it's not just about kind of like, you know, here's a deal, who wants it, sign it up. It's taking them through the right process. So
you're now in the position where we're attracting landlords to say, hey, I think this location would suit a Fitstop.
Absolutely.
Have you thought about it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how far into the franchising model was it before these people started to come to you and say, hey, look, we want to put a Fitstop in our location here and we want one over here? How long was it before that started to come to you?
Yeah, it would have been nice if it was from the start, but the reality is, you know, they've got to hedge their bets too. So now we're a proven model. It's happening. And it's probably been in the last 9 months. Just before COVID, we started to get a lot of it, and I kept developing it out through COVID. So we still signed, I think it was 8 or 9 leases during that COVID period, obviously with some better terms in there. But yeah, it's coming along really strong now. Again, we're seen as a feeder tenant for some of these big complexes. You've obviously got your Woolworths, your Coles, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But because we attract these amazing communities who are coming to see us every
people
day.
want you in their commercial property.
Our members leave and go to the cafe, they go to the barbershop, they drop into Woolworths to grab their dinner. So we're getting sourced after now, so it's a good position to be in.
Do you think are more shopping centres coming online now? Because obviously there's a lot of shopping centres now coming with openings after COVID and everything like that. What's happening in retail? A lot more of these shopping centres now saying like your Westfields and people like that. Are they reaching out and wanting Fitstops in, or are they not on board yet?
Not quite the bigger players like a Westfield, and look, it probably doesn't fit 100% of exact model that we want as well. So more of those centralized community-based strip malls, little complexes, the Stockwells, Stocklands, like that kind of developer is who we're really attracted to and who we're constantly building relationships with. So maybe if you are a developer out there and you want a Fitstop in your building anywhere in Australia, hit us up.
I think there'll be a few developers. There are a few developers that listen to this. A few boys in real estate too.
Perfect.
And I'm sure they'll be able to hook you up with a few tenants.
Yeah.
But give me the biggest, the highest growth location for you, I presume, is probably going to be going towards Sydney and Melbourne eventually.
Yeah, so we're in Melbourne already. So we've chosen to expand. Maybe a little different to some, but like I said, we're community based, Brisbane born and bred. So proved ourselves here. We then launched into Victoria. So we currently have 4 locations open in Victoria, and we'll open another 4 in the next 6 or so months. 10 by the end of the year.
Are most of your inquiries, when out of the 100 that come in per month, are most of them from those locations in order to obviously boost the numbers there, or are you getting more like people wanting to set them up in Queensland, or where are the inquiries coming from? Look,
naturally, Queensland's our hotspot right now. We're becoming a household name. People are loving it. They're seeing the success that our owners are getting. So a lot of the leads are organically coming from Queensland. We have a big focus on Victoria and also WA. So we're about to open in WA, just out of in Perth in late March, and then from there start to expand. So big focus, obviously looking after the support and rollout in Queensland, but really moving into Victoria and WA. And we've started that sales process in Sydney as well. So got a couple opening up in outer New South Wales and then kind of moving more into that CBD region. So we'll be all states by the end of this year.
Mate, that's epic. That's epic. So you're not in Western Australia just yet?
No, we're not. So first one, end of this month, we've signed a lease. We've done the designs. Build will start the next couple of weeks. We'll start pre-launch. You guys probably heard it here first anyway.
Buzzing
we'll be
buzzing to
WA.
get that open for you. But now I want to switch it up. I want to hear more about Pete and what Pete does, because the way you've described everything you do, it sounds like you're working like 18-hour days. You're pumping through, but what do you do to switch off? Like, how do you get out of the mindset of just obviously being on all the time?
Not possible, I don't think. I'm always on. I guess there's a couple of things though. So Sunday's always my day off.
Yep.
No emails. Obviously unless something comes up. But it's that time to really step out. I love the beach. Beck and I love the beach. We got a little puppy Archie. So we're down the coast a lot. We built a house this year during COVID, which was nice and stressful. But we're hanging out home by the pool. So Sunday, absolute rest day. Outside of that, I guess I've got my daily routine that I go through, but I love the work. It's not work. It's it's exactly where I want to be and who I want to be. So yeah, from Monday to Saturday, full steam ahead.
So obviously you've got a lot of purpose around what you do. That's clear to see. How did you go about finding that purpose in the initial place to obviously get this much drive to keep doing this every day for 6 days a week?
Yeah. Look, again, it goes back to, sitting on the couch for the first 12 weeks and, battling those demons, I guess, when you had a knee reconstruction, to falling in love with something, again, the same as I did for motocross, and then falling in love with that progression, learning from amazing people, trying to pass that forward. I guess at the end of the day, something that I learned very early on was, like I said before, you need a few people around you that will inspire you to go that next step. And that's actually part of Fitstop's purpose. It's ignite people's passion to play a bigger game. That's all of our owners, that's our trainers.
That's a great why statement, that is.
Yeah. So
say that again. Ignite people's passion
to play a bigger game.
I love that.
And that's everything that we instill in our company, our values, what we drive for. So every day that's me. And again, there's hard times for sure. I'm running a company with, employees and 10,000 members in 42 locations, and they all get shut down through COVID. Like that's this grey hair right here.
You were really fast to act on that Brisbane lockdown on social and everything like that.
Yeah,
I think you'd already created all your socials and had a bit of a plan in place within about 2 hours of that lockdown being announced. I think I think it was announced at like 10:30 a.m. and I think by 12:30 a.m. I saw a post from you guys saying, we're doing this at the venues, we're doing this at the gyms, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this.
Yep.
Like that's the fluidity of what you've got as a team now. But I just can't believe you can service 10,000 members with 11 staff.
Well, that's head office stuff, right? And so that's our core team internally. We externalize so much. So we've got 2 external marketing teams, agencies with, probably combined of 20 people. We've got our whole tech arm of the business, which they have a team of 30. So we've got all these amazing vendors
that you've plugged in. I understand now. Yeah.
But the key here is never lose the magic. Now, as you grow and expand, more people, more opinions, more dilution potentially. And again, we're really protective of people that come on board Fitstop. Where we've had 2 people start already this year. We're in the process of recruiting 2 more, 1 more to start next week. So 5 in the first 5 weeks.
And it's so hard to get the people with your energy to plug into Fitstop. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like to find the right people, because you can find lots of people that want to work there, but they might not be the right fit
for sure
for the brand.
And they don't need my energy. Again, I'm not great at everything. I'm far from it, actually. We want people that are aligned with our values and our vision, really understand our culture, and our culture is all about performance culture. We are athletes. We drive like athletes, and want to be in the journey for that long game. So, we do recruit that little bit slower. We make sure that it absolutely aligns. And then once it's locked and loaded, like I said, Al runs the business fantastically internal. It's all about action plans, key projects, 12-month roadmap. Like, there's some amazing leadership in there, and he's doing a great job. So,
and it is the leadership that obviously has allowed this growth to happen. You've obviously been freed to do what you're best at by other people within the business operating, and other people taking off the sales of the franchises and other stuff like that. Which it's good to see the way that you've not only outsourced to other companies the things that you perhaps weren't the best at, but you've also outsourced within your team, so you can obviously accentuate the good things that you're doing. You were mentioned before about a lot of mentorship that you've had.
Yeah.
And I think obviously, judging by everything that we've been through and what you've achieved on this journey, mentorship's had a massive role in your development. When did you first get into like having mentors, and obviously how has it helped Fitstop progress?
Yeah, hey, good question. And again, I'm going to go back to knee reconstruction. I found an amazing physiotherapist, Simon Rundell. Look him up. He's an awesome guy. He was probably one of my first mentor, in a way that he took me under his wing and taught me everything I needed to know about biomechanics, human body performance, rehabilitation with my knee. Yeah. And so when I look for a mentor, it's not necessarily a business coach or someone with that title. It's who do I need to be next? What do I need to learn? And who could I get that information from? So,
and you just go and align yourself with that person straight away.
Yeah, for sure. And it's absolutely, and don't get me wrong, it's not to like use people or anything like that. It's like have great conversation with people, share with them what you're looking for, what you're wanting to achieve next, and people get bought into that as well. So, sometimes, a 15-minute coffee is better than a mentor or a performance coach for 6 months. It's like, but you need to know what you're looking for. There's no point seeking advice, support, whatever else, if you're like, kind of want to do this, this, and this. Like, maybe there's people that will help you to go in the right direction, but I think when you've got a really clear vision and you can go, cool, hey, need to learn this element, or I need to be surrounded by these people, it's that whole circle of influence thing, then that's when you're going to extract the gold.
So how did you get aligned with Jack DeLosa and get involved with him and obviously the entourage and everything like that? How did that come about?
Look, and again, it was I knew that I needed to learn. So again, going back to Redland Bay, 100 square meter building, had 30 members at the time. 30 members isn't making you any money. I was still 18-hour days,
still struggling training, to pay the bills.
Well, I was paying rent, not paying myself. I knew that I needed to learn something, and I wanted to learn the same way that I did about human performance. So, I got spammed an Instagram ad, I'm pretty sure, to look at this entourage. Can't remember what they called it. It was like a discovery day.
Yeah.
It was held in Brisbane. Again, showed Beck. She's like, yep, you absolutely need to learn. You have no idea how to run a business. So went along to it, took 2 buddies with me. One said, nah, this is not great. Don't love the energy.
Yeah.
Whatever else. And everyone's been to these kind of events. You're either like, don't buy into the
love it or hate it.
Yeah,
a bit like Tony Robbins type thing.
Yeah, and I've done Tony Robbins and all that sort of stuff as well. But look, I heard all these amazing people speak on stage, and I was like, shit, there's something here. I need to do something. So take action. Went home, told Beck it was like $18,000 for the year. So I signed up to it. And again, you're not getting mentored by Jack, but Jack's built an amazing team. So it wasn't 1, 2, or 3 people. It was like 10 people you're learning from.
Yeah,
I'd fly down to Sydney every second month, I think it was. Again, I'm not making any money. Spending 18 grand a year on
but you're
this.
backing yourself. That's the key thing here. You're backing yourself here.
Yeah.
You are backing yourself. You're putting in, you might not be making the money you want to make right now, but everything you're doing right now is predicated on the fact that you're backing yourself right now through this process.
And it's cost of opportunity. Again, went home, tell Beck, she's like, definitely can't afford that, but we're going to lose a lot. Yeah, you're going to lose a lot more if we keep going this way, so you got to learn. So signed up for it. Going to talk about it all the time. What's the cost of opportunity? What if I don't do this? What if we don't take this next step? Yeah, sure, maybe we can make some mistakes, but we'll learn from it. We'll keep moving forward. And again, sacrifice. I was flying down budget airlines. I was staying in backpackers. Then going to these 3 days conferences, going back to the backpackers, taking my notes, going to sleep.
What, like Bondi backpackers?
No, it was like CBD. So I think it was like I Wake Up Sydney, something like that.
Yeah.
Did that for. Well, I think I only stayed in a hotel once, and it was the last one I did. And that's because I think we'd hit 100 members. So that was my treat.
The beauty of this, though, this allows people to see what goes in. What goes really into this. Obviously, Fitstop's 43 locations now. You're telling me it's going to be 10,000 locations. I have no doubt it's going to be 10,000 locations.
Yep.
But people think that from 1 to 43 was like, it's just blown up. He's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But like, you're telling me that you've stayed at a backpackers in Sydney to go to an event with mentors that cost you 18, 20 grand for the year. It's like, that's how much you've gone, I love this so much, I'm going to just put it all in and put it on the line.
Yeah. Look, and again, it comes back to that grit, the determination, whatever you want to call it. But, again, people talk about like, you shouldn't have to sacrifice. Like, I don't really consider it a sacrifice if it's something that I'm really loving. Like, it was my dream. I'm so fortunate. I've had great support around me that has allowed me to live my dream, and now we get to impact all these lives and have amazing business owners. We're now the ones that are throwing these huge events and conferences, and it's pretty surreal some days.
Mate, I honestly, I'm in awe of what you've done and what you're gonna do. Just for the people that are listening to this, right, that are wanting to take some action in life, like to do something, right?
Yeah.
In business, a lot of them are like, I want to set up a business. Do you know what I mean? What kick up the arse could you give them right now on this podcast to say, go and back yourself? Like, what is your key, like 4 or 5 points that just get people to get the drive that you have?
Yeah, well, look, I think the first one is you have to understand your why. Like, why are you doing it, and what are you willing to do to make that happen? Like you said, you've got to sacrifice, you've got to do the hard work, you've got to be all things to all people at some stage. So are you prepared to do the work, and is it worth it? Not for the financial outcome, but how it's going to make you feel. The second one is just do it. And it sounds so simple, but it's just like signing the lease for the second time. Go and find the building, sign the lease. It's like, it's taking that next step. It's the where we are right now, expanding into different states. It's just taking that next step. Brene Brown talks about it. You've got to be the man in the arena. Be the person in the arena. The people on the outside are the ones that are going to point and shout and laugh and all that sort of stuff. But if you're the person that's sitting in there every day, then you're going to get it done. But so, yeah, I guess to summarize it, you have to have a solid why. You have to genuinely believe in it, and you have to be ready to go all in. The next step is just take the next step. Step forward, sign the lease, sign the deal, hire the team, work the 18-hour days, 24-hour days, whatever you need to. And then have that bigger picture thinking that you want to share the journey. I think too many people go, I'll play the small game, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'm going to keep it all close to me. I'll be able to run a national...
Very self-serving.
Whatever. Yeah, you can't do that. And one, you'll never feel fulfillment in your life if you're self-serving. And two, you'll never personally, I believe you'll never build success, or what you think success is anyway.
And are you someone that adequately like goes out and seeks knowledge from books, or are you just someone who just does it from the mentorship, like you said before? Is there anything like impactful that you've read and gone and changed your life or mindset?
Look, I get distracted quite easy, so I'm not someone that listens to a podcast every morning and reads 10 books and that sort of stuff. But I really focus on who do I need to be next, and who do I need to be next is nothing about changing me as a person or my core values. It's a trainer to a owner to a now CEO of a global, hopefully a global business, right? Who do I need to be next? Who do I need to be surrounded by? Who do I need to learn from? That's when I'm going to go seek it. So I love the guys from Gymshark. Massive shout out. Their content is incredible. The detail they talk about it. I'm loving watching the content on Gymshark because they've actually built something. So I seek what I need and then then translate it for me. Is
that something you're going to show behind the scenes of building Fitstop? Because I think that would be really interesting content to see on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like those development meets. You don't have to show the products or the software or this, that, and the other, but I think it'd be really beautiful to see how you're putting things together, how you're building this. Like just seeing you touring a location, like a building site, and this is what we're going to do with this location, and this location's coming up in 4 weeks' time, and it's going to be, you know what I mean, in quiet, email, kind of like a bit like Grant Cardone, but then a bit like Gymshark too.
Definitely.
Kind of thing. I think it would work for you.
Yeah, look, I love the content, and again, right now the focus is, what are we doing this year to implement our systems to execute on it? But again, I'm fortunate now to be able to breathe a little, so I'd love to share more of it. I'm really inspired by the way that Ben and the boys from Gymshark are doing it. So maybe stay tuned, and we'll start to do some behind the scenes stuff,
mate. And honestly, I think you're going to do some legendary stuff this year. I want to thank you for coming on this podcast, mate. It's been epic to hear about how you've built it and how you've gone from being that motocross rider to obviously accentuating, building one physical location, now 43. I have no doubt in my mind you're going to be at 10,000 in a lot faster time frame than even you probably think. Like, I really believe that. Drop your socials on here so they can follow you, the brand and you and everything like that.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Look, follow Fitstop Australia, follow all of our locations, search your local area, jump on Instagram. You're going to see exactly what that community looks like. Follow me, Peter Hull, on Instagram, probably the best handle, the one that I use most often. And I'll try to keep you guys all updated and maybe leak some behind the scenes stuff for you.
And just I know you've dropped your 4 points, but just your one golden nugget before we sign off this podcast, your one golden nugget that if you died tomorrow, you've left it to the world.
Mate, the biggest one is we ignite people's passion to play a bigger game. So can you. If you believe in it so much that you are willing to do the work, just do it.
I love it. It's because it's so simple, so succinct, and it's so timeless. You know what I mean? It works in every time.
Yep.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you can give Pete or myself some feedback, like, review, share it with your friends, we'd appreciate it. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @Frankie Lee. I just want to say again, mate, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And much love to all of you.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Lee podcast.